Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 106. Andrew Eisen here, along with E. Zachary Knight. Hello.
Hello. Hello, Andrew. Hello, everybody out there.
Hello.
Matthew, addicted to chaos. Hello.
So, see any good movies lately?
No.
No? Okay.
No, well, I watched last night with the family. I watched both Disney's Descendants movies.
Descendants?
Yeah, it's
I don't know
basically
that.
the kids or grandkids of Disney hero and villain
Oh,
characters.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And surprisingly, something the movies are okay, I guess. They're for kids, and the music's okay. I got a couple of chuckles out of them, but I did notice that in the second one, the primary villain is played by the same actress that plays Lightning in Black Lightning,
Oh, hey.
the youngest daughter. So, yeah, I saw that. I was watching. I'm like, that's Lightning, and then I googled it just to double check. But yeah, I'm like, wow. Yeah, I don't keep track of who actors are or what they've played in, but I just thought that was kind of neat. As far as I can tell, she's moved up in the world.
Good honor. Yeah, oh man, now the sleepiness hits me.
Yeah, I've been exhausted all day, so I had to run and get me a soda from On Cue.
I watched all of Black Lightning.
Okay.
And so I've watched all of Luke Cage, all of Black Lightning, and all of Glow. So
Okay.
I got a lot of
Both
television
seasons
watching
of
done.
Glow.
Both seasons of Glow, and that is
Okay.
probably my favorite Netflix show. Is
Okay.
super good. Um, so Luke Cage, have you seen the whole thing yet? Luke season 2?
I have not had a chance to watch Luke Cage at
Okay.
all. I haven't been able to do much of anything gaming or television wise lately. So,
Oh man, I may not be able to film my video tonight if I'm just going to yawn every minute. Because the script is like 6.5 minutes. So,
yeah.
so Black Lightning, yeah, Black Lightning is good. It just kind of stops
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than ends.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like they wrote a 26 episode season, and then only got a half season order.
that yeah, definitely, because the season finale definitely feels like a mid-season finale and not a season one, because it ends right in the middle of a major conflict, and I'm just like, come on, what's going to happen? And yeah, we won't get to find out until I think October too, because I think
There is a
next season
season
is
two,
just
so yeah.
yeah, season 2 I think is going to be another 13 episode
Episode, yeah.
season, and yeah, I think it doesn't start until October, so which will suck because my wife and I are really wanting to finish that one because it is honestly the best CW show right now, or CW superhero show, DC CW.
Considering the only other one I've seen is Supergirl, I'd say that yeah, by leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
Because I thought
yes,
Supergirl was terrible, but then again, I've only seen the first episode.
yeah. Season 1 of Supergirl is it's okay. It's not great. It's definitely not as good as it could have been. Season 2 is a lot better, but it still has some really annoying aspects to it. Season 3, the most recent season, I think yeah,
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 3.
it's season 3. Yeah, that one is just it's the worst of the three. I
Uh,
did not like season 3 at all. Um, but season 2 of Supergirl is pretty good. But you should but yeah, you just I think the only the only redeeming Supergirl stuff right now are the crossover things, and and those are pretty good. The big multi-show
Yeah.
crossover events that involve Supergirl, because she does well when she works with other heroes on her level,
Hmm.
but the show in general is just not all that great. And the last two seasons of Flash aren't all that great. Hopefully next season will be better, because they're going to be I think they're moving away from the season long villain and doing something a little different. And Arrow just, Addicted to Chaos says you should give Arrow a chance, but stop after season 2. And I'll probably agree with that. Arrow hasn't done as well as it has in the past. But Legends of Tomorrow, skip season 1, but definitely watch seasons 2 and 3, because those are good. That's good television, very entertaining television. But season 1 is just it is absolutely terrible, because it has Hawkgirl and it's Hawkgirl and Hawkman, and the whole show is centered, or the whole season is centered around them, and it is just not a very good entertaining it is not an entertaining story. But yeah.
So I downloaded every demo on the PlayStation 4. Not every demo I was interested in, and played a bunch of them this week.
Okay.
I downloaded every. I actually did download every music game demo, and there's 4 that I found anyway.
Yeah.
And none of them are really that good. There's Parappa the Rapper, which I've been aware of for 20 years.
Because this is the remaster, the HD
the demo's the remaster, so it doesn't look like garbage like the original did. I mean, its style is fine, its aesthetics are fine, but the PlayStation's crap and couldn't render its way out of a wet paper bag. So I played Parappa the Rapper, and it's terrible. I don't know if it's this demo or if it's the anniversary thing, but Parappa's because how it works is a guy will rap, and then you sit there and watch it, and then he will say kick, punch, kick, kick, punch, and then you have to mimic that pattern by square, circle, square, square, circle, or something like that.
Yeah.
And no matter how good your timing is, and I'm a musician, my timing is pretty good. Parappa's chime in is completely garbage and offbeat. So you'll hear the guy go kick, punch, kick, kick, punch, and Parappa will go kick, punch, kick, kick, punch. I'm like, oh god, this is terrible. So it's either this demo or the remake, or maybe my controller is lagging. I don't know, but oh wow, is that just sound bad?
Wow.
Oh well. The writing and the music, the lyrics are pretty funny. So, I mean, it's well written, but just not a very good music game. Chaos says Parappa is very unforgiving in its difficulty. I didn't find it difficult at all. I passed that one. It's probably easy. Well, I mean, I'm sure it gets much harder. That's probably like the first thing in the game, and it's really easy. It's not satisfying, because no matter how accurate you are, Parappa is not at all.
Wow.
Next, I played Amplitude, which I had heard really good things about, which is kind of a music game racer, and it's boring.
Is it?
It's also got really weird controls. So what it does is you have a soundscape, and that soundscape is divided into different highways, each highway representing a different piece of the music. So you'll have the bass, the synth, the vocals, the rhythm, the harmony. And you're flying a little spaceship, and the idea is to pick a highway of the ones that happen to be available at the time and shoot the beats on the highway. And there's a left beat, a right beat, and a center beat.
Yeah.
And so you hit the corresponding buttons to shoot the right beats at the right time, and then you switch to another highway. A fine idea. The biggest problem for me is, for whatever reason, they said, which buttons should we map to left, middle, and right? How about L1, R1, and R2? Which is weird. And
it is weird.
And
it is
clumsy, and I kept
completely
screwing up because it's
unintuitive.
not unintuitive. And I'm thinking, how about square, triangle, and circle?
Or
Middle, right.
left, up, and right.
Or, yeah, with either on the buttons or the D-pad. Maybe that would have been too easy because the game is super simple.
Yeah.
I mean, it does get into a lot faster, more complex rhythms, but I was just kind of bored with it, and the music wasn't really doing it for me.
But L1, R1, and L2. And
L1, I think it's L1, R1, and R2.
Okay, but the R2 or L2, whatever it is, that's center, and then the shoulder buttons are left and right.
And Matthew says, "Rebind the keys." It's not the point.
Rebind them at the OS level. Can you do that on a game specific thing? Like, this is my key binding for this game, and this is my key binding for this game.
I don't know. If you can, great. That's lovely.
Yeah,
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but the game was weird. Control scheme aside, the game wasn't really grabbing me, anyways.
Yeah.
So I also played. Heck is this called? Hatsune Miku Project Diva X, which is Hatsune Miku. I made it about a minute and a half through one of her songs, and then I turned it off because it's just so terrible. I mean, the way the game plays is fine. There are little music notes that, a circle will come flying in from the side of the screen, and when it hits the circle, you hit circle, and then a triangle will fly in, and when it hits triangle, you hit triangle. It's
just a big quick time thing. Yeah.
I have no idea what to do with the stars, though. Occasionally, a star, stars will, because triangle, square, circle, and X little icons come flying onto the screen. You have to hit the appropriate buttons. Then stars come in, and I have no idea what to do with that. And I was like, is it the touchpad? Is it the bumpers? I was really stuck.
It's right analog stick click.
Maybe, I don't know. There's no tutorial. If there's a tutorial, I missed it, and I don't know what. So I was like, I don't know what to do with those. But anyway, the music, as is par for the course for Hatsune Miku, is so amazingly terrible, offensively bad, that I had to shut it off. I couldn't even get through an entire song, which is a shame because the gameplay is fine, and I actually like the Hatsune Miku character design and attitude, the way she boogies around the screen. I think it's adorable, but oh god, I cannot stand the sound of Vocaloids. It is offensive to my ears. So I also played DJ Max Respect, which is the weirdest name, which is Guitar Hero on a controller. And it's as bad as that sounds. There's a 4-note highway.
Yeah.
And it's mapped so you have a left, second right, and right. So, or maybe it'd be better to just 1, 2, 3, 4. So from the left, the far left is left on the plus pad.
Mm-hmm.
The second to the left is up on the plus pad, and on the far right circle, the button on the far right is the far right lane, and then the second to right lane is triangle, which is the top button. So you have lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, lane 4, and that actually works fine. It's just
you can play that with your joint and tip finger of your thumb on. So Yeah, yeah. I used to. I went when I went to college. There was one of the guys I went there with. He used to play a PC version of Dance Dance Revolution. I don't know if it was actually DDR, but or just some
Mm.
clone that it was. But he just played it with
Using
the
the arrow
number
keys and
pad,
the
yeah, with the
keyboard
arrow keys,
or the
and
numpad, yeah.
yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I guess that works. Kind of
If you're
defeats the
good at
purpose of
10
Dance Dance.
key,
Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah,
so a DJ Max Respect is it's functional, it's just not fun. I mean, that kind of game, the reason Guitar Hero and Rock Band work is because you had the goofy plastic guitar.
yeah.
That's it makes it fun and it sells it. And just playing Guitar Hero on a controller, and they had a 3DS Guitar Hero which kind of did the same thing. No,
Well,
actually, they had a
no,
little
the
peripheral
3DS,
that had
yeah,
a
it plugged into
key, yeah.
the Game Boy port, and it had the
And then you had to
four
strum on the
keys, and
touch
then you
screen, I
from the
think.
touch screen. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was actually, yeah. So you held it, so you held it in your hand. So this was the main DS. So the keys were here, and then the fold out screen was here, and that's where you saw the notes coming down, and then you just strummed on the touchpad.
Yeah.
It was
Or
actually
DS, not
yeah,
3DS, I think, right?
yeah, it was DS, yeah, because the 3DS doesn't have the Game
The
Boy port
Game Boy,
anymore.
right.
But yeah, it was actually a really clever solution for a Game Boy port of Guitar Hero. But, yeah,
So, Matthew says, you do hate Vocaloids, don't you? No, actually, I don't. I like Vocaloids. I like the visual design and animation of most of them, including Hatsune Miku. I like the technology behind Vocaloids. I think it's absolutely fascinating. It just sounds terrible. So what I hate is the sound of Vocaloids singing. I appreciate them. I
because isn't it
appreciate the
the
technology, but
auto tune type, like worse than auto tune or something?
yes.
Yeah,
It's
because
like the worst auto tune ever.
yeah,
It's unlistenably bad. I genuinely
just
don't understand how anyone can stomach listening to it because it's
yeah,
terrible.
but
Technically, it's neat though.
just a side note, I mentioned that I watched Disney's Descendants
Hmm.
last night, um, and they used autotune in that. The first movie, the autotune wasn't as noticeable. Like they only used it to. It almost felt like they were just using it to actually you know, correct
Yeah,
live
it's a
singing.
jest, sure.
Um, but the second one, they just dialed autotune all the way up, and I hated every single song in the second movie.
I
But yeah,
It's probably to do that I'm an actual singer and
yeah,
hearing a obviously synthetic voice is just counter to everything that music and singing should sound like to me. So that's probably why I don't enjoy it.
yeah,
Because it's not like the technology isn't there to make the voice sound natural. It is. It's just Hatsune Miku and Vocaloids of that stripe. I think that synthetic sound is the style. They
yeah,
without that sound, it wouldn't be Hatsune Miku. So.
yeah.
I also played Bound, which is an interesting little game.
Bound.
Yeah,
You say that, and the first thing that pops into my mind is the Pixar short "Bounden"
oh,
about the
sure.
little sheep that jumps around. But
Want to delete it? Yeah. Um, it's an interesting game. Hard to tell from the demo. I don't think I played the whole thing. I think I stopped because it was boring. Um, I admire it has a very interesting look to it. It looks like an indie game that went full hog wild on an interesting artistic aesthetic, and it's really gorgeous to look at. It's a platformer with, so far as I've seen, no enemies and not really any obstacles. You just kind of wander around these very colorful, surreal environments, and the gimmick is your character is kind of a performative
hmm
dancer. You know, that kind of a thing. I am a tree, and it's really neat. And it's a cross between ballet and performative dance. And I was just, for the same reason that I like Piano 3, which your character dances and has a lot of fluid movement and rhythm to the way she moves. Same thing here, only with um, ballet and performative dance. So her jumps are, ballet jumps, and when she sidles across a ledge, she does the on the toes little tappy thing. Um, and it's really cool. The problem I had with it is it's boring because there's nothing to do except move through the environment. At
Yeah.
least in the demo, there's no interesting platforming challenges, and I had a problem with the fact that the moves didn't seem to link together very well. Like, I love the way they interpreted um, the run cycles, walk cycles, jumps, uh, bounding off of walls. You know how they interpret sidling along a ledge, how they moving through fields of wheat. There's this like wavy grass,
Hmm.
and she kind of does this wide stepping thing that's really neat. Unfortunately, none of it really flows together in an entire dance. It doesn't seem
Yeah.
to. Although there is a total dance button where you just hold the dance button and she just kind of twirls around in place, which builds up some shield, but there's no enemies, at least in the demo. So I don't know what that's for. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. It's just not fun to play. And I don't know if that's the game or just kind of a poor demo. It just doesn't show well
Yeah.
in the demo. Hard to say.
Maybe. Yeah.
Ocon Tech Seal says Eisen. It sounds kind of German. It's because it's totally German. You'll notice that the pronunciation, the phonics don't make any sense in American English. It's because it's not English; it's German. Means iron, if anyone really cares. Um, and what else did I play? I played the demo for Little Nightmares, which is creepy, wonderfully creepy. I really love its
Yeah.
look. You play this little pint-sized character, and you wander around creepy environments and just puzzle platform your way through areas. And the problem I had with it though is the controls are a little wonky. They're not
Hmm.
terrible. They're just not as tight as they should be.
Yeah.
And then I played Inside, which is from the same developers who did Limbo, and it's pretty much exactly the same as Limbo. Uh, it toes the line. It has just enough stuff to do in the game, at least from the demo I played, where it just barely avoids hold right until you get there. The first like 20 to 25% of it is just hold right and run to the right, and that's it. The latter three quarters have a little bit more in the way of puzzles. You have to lead these little baby chicks into a combine thrasher that spits them out onto a hay barrel that knocks it off a ledge that you can use to climb up to something else. Things like that. And it's atmospheric and it's interesting, and the controls are actually tight. So it's also $20, and I'm thinking, if it's anything like Limbo, it's probably 40 minutes long. um, and it
Yeah.
probably shouldn't be $20.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm kind of a snob like that. So, uh,
Okay.
and that's what I've been doing. I'm also playing, revisiting, finishing up Gravity Rush 2 because the online stuff gets shut off in a couple of days. They actually
Okay.
extended it. So,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, I've been playing Pokemon Quest. I started playing that last week. I haven't played it much this week because I hit a barrier where I would have to grind for a considerable amount of time in order to actually advance, and I just don't feel like grinding because the game isn't interesting enough to grind. It's a passable mobile experience. The you don't really control anything in it, but you have 3 Pokemon. You go on little expeditions, and they kind of wander around on their own, and they auto attack, but you pick when they use their special abilities, and and which is fine for a mobile game. And if you're just sitting there grinding, you can always just turn on auto battle, and it basically does everything you would normally do at the game itself. But yeah, the leveling up is a pain in the butt, because once you get past like level 25, leveling is so freaking slow. You get hardly any experience, and don't get hardly any experience from completing an expedition. You only get 5 expedition points. You only have the ability to go on 5 expedition points before you have to recharge your points at 1 per half an hour. So you run through all 5 of them in about 20 minutes, and then you have to wait 2.5 hours in order to play again, and that's really annoying. And I just I would like to finish the game, because there is kind of an end game thing to it, but I just really do not want to grind. And there's other ways to get experience, but again, that involves you can cook dishes at your base camp, and after a certain number of expeditions, a Pokemon will show up. Depending on what dish you cook will determine what type of Pokemon it is, and then you can use those Pokemon to train the Pokemon you actually want to use. But even that takes forever, because a lot of dishes will take 5 expeditions in order to attract a Pokemon, and sometimes it's not even the Pokemon you want, and that's not going to help you train your Pokemon very well. So I don't know. I'll probably mess with it from time to time, but I don't think I'll be spending a lot of time with it. But I do feel that it came out on the Switch first, and then they released it on mobile. And I'm looking at it, playing it on mobile, and I'm just like, this would not be fun on the Switch, especially if you're playing on TV mode, because there's just not a lot of interaction to be doing, and you can only play it in 20-minute spurts, and it just does not feel like it would be anything that you would actually want to play on a console. So yeah. I can understand why they brought it to mobile, but I just do not understand why they brought it to the Switch. Yeah. In other news, I started working on a game concept I had developed last year, and I started working on it again this week. And today I spent like 3 hours trying to figure out why my Xbox controller was not working properly. Because I compiled my game, and when I got to the start menu, I hit start, and my game closed. At first, I thought it was a crash, but then I'm like running all kinds of utilities to test my controller, and what I found out was like my controller was acting like a mouse. So using the right analog stick was moving the cursor around, and the face buttons were right and left click, and the start button was acting as, I guess, escape, and I'm trying to figure this out. So I'm like trying to install new drivers for my controller, and nothing was working. And after about 3 hours of trying to figure this out, I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens when I when I use Steam with this, use an existing game and try to play an existing game. And then I found out that Steam, for some reason, it turns out the problem was Steam. And I went into it, and went into big picture mode because that's where you can reconfigure your controllers and stuff. And there's a setting in there that when big picture mode is not enabled, Steam turns your controller into an alternative mouse. And there's no way to change that behavior other than to just turn it off. But if you do that, then I couldn't use my controller inside the game I was actually working on. And so I've got to figure out how to do this, because the only way I can get my controller to work on the game that I'm working on is to completely exit out of Steam so that Steam doesn't interfere with my controller settings. And it's really annoying and really stupid. And
have you tried hitting it with a brick?
I would, but my laptop cost $1,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got to figure out how to do this, because if I can't use my controller when Steam is running, that's going to be very inconvenient. and I got to see how Steam handles using my controller while playing in an actual game. So yeah, because that really doesn't make sense, and I don't know why there's not any other settings other than to completely disable my controller outside of Steam big picture mode. So I gotta experiment with that, because it's really annoying.
Wow. All right, let us move to our first topic. And Matthew asks, is Windows or Linux?
It's Linux. That's what I'm running. So yeah.
You know what I like most about Linux?
What?
The penguin mascot is adorable.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's my favorite thing. I love the damn penguin.
It is a cute penguin.
Yeah. So this childcare.co.uk, I have never heard of this place.
Yeah,
Zachary forwarded this to me earlier. Yeah. It's apparently just a networking site for finding daycare and tutors and stuff for your kids. So
yeah,
that's nice. But childcare.co.uk did a survey of the people who used its platform, surveyed a little over 2,000 people, about how they deal with ratings and their children and video games. So, Zachary, I'll go ahead and regale us with some numbers here.
All right. Well, I really wish they included their methodology, the actual
methodology
survey.
and the actuals. Yeah, I do.
Because they give us a good breakdown of numbers, but they only surveyed around. It's the biggest number they have here is 2,171. Yeah. So that's not a very big cross section of society. So
it's also only users of their website. So
yeah, so it's a big selection bias and a small sample size. So take a lot of these numbers with a big grain of salt.
Right. And just to set the context here, this appeared on childcare.co.uk's own blog. And so far as I know, it hasn't been published. I mean, no one's using this as a basis for legislation or anything.
Yeah.
They surveyed their own users and published a summary of the results on their own blog.
So that's
all we're looking at.
Yeah, it's good information. It's just it's kind of a these are people who care about their kids enough to try to find quality daycare and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently they don't take that same kind of interest in what games their kids play, because they open up this is their opening statement. It says, we recently surveyed more than 2,000 parents on our platform and found that more than half of the parents allow their children to play video games for over 18. So R18 ratings, I believe, is the rating in the
It's
UK.
it's essentially our
M
M
rating.
rating.
Yeah. And but not only that, but they do so without supervision or knowledge of the game beforehand. So they basically just let their kids pick whatever games they want to play or buy or whatever, and the parents just don't pay any attention. And they contrast this with this other number. It says just 18% said they would let their 10 to 14-year-olds watch an 18 rated movie, which and this is basically this is basically how the rest of this survey goes, where parents pay no attention to the video games, but do for movies. The next section is 86% of parents admitted that they don't follow the age restrictions on video games, whereas 23% say they said they didn't follow age restriction on movies. So they basically just kind of flop the numbers there. I guess a bigger percentage of but yeah, so they don't care. That many people just don't care, and that's crazy.
What's interesting is that it's hard to say because we don't have the actual study and the breakdown of the numbers, but I'm wondering if it's what the Venn diagram is here. What is the overlap of parents who there's got to be some just because of these numbers, but the parents who are like, oh, absolutely, I look at the ratings of a movie and I make sure my kids don't watch 18 rated films. I honestly don't give a darn what games they're playing. They can play any games or games. And I wonder if it's some kind of weird thing where this group of parents anyway think that games are all Mario. Like they recognize that movies are G-rated Disney cartoons to R-rated gore fests. Like there's that broad spectrum. But video games, maybe they hear the word games and they're like, oh, games, that's for kids. I don't need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. I would say that it's probably something like that. A little bit of these parents grew up with movies and movie ratings, so they understand them. They're naturally a part of their life or their thought process. But video games and video game ratings are relatively new, and I would love to see the ages of the parents too.
That was what I was about to say. It'd be interesting. Are these parents mostly in their 60s? And grew up without video games, or do we have some young 20s parents who did grow up with video games?
Yeah, because I'm 37, and I don't let my kids play M-rated games. I don't let my kids watch R-rated movies. We take a very case by case. We look at PG-13 movies and T-rated games on a case-by-case basis, and to determine what they're allowed to play or watch. And it's like I've got a copy of DC versus Mortal Kombat that I just picked up, or my wife picked up. She got for free from some friend that was moving, and I'm just like, I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is T-rated, but do I really want my kids playing a Mortal Kombat game? I might play it with my oldest son, but the younger kids aren't going to be able to play a Mortal Kombat, even a T-rated one, even though the game is pretty crap from everything I've read. But Uncharted, I might I'd let my son play Uncharted if he was interested in it, because it swears, but we let him watch PG-13 movies, and there's swears in that too. But
the next number on this summary is
Yeah.
the one that really I find interesting. It says nearly half, 43%, of parents have seen a negative change in their child's behavior since playing games aimed at adults. I find that really interesting because it says more than half of parents allow their children to play video games to play 18 rated games without supervision or knowledge of the game beforehand, and slightly less than half have seen a negative change in their child's behavior since doing that. It's like there's got to be some overlap in there.
Yeah, there's
It's like,
gotta
are
be.
you? It's like maybe I should start paying attention.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and we're gonna get to this number later, but there's another pretty hilarious factoid in this, and we'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, so 43% have seen a negative behavior or negative change in their child's behavior, and it says almost a quarter, 22% said their kids now understand and use negative or offensive language since playing these games. Now this is an interesting number, because you gotta really wonder, is this 22% of these people notice their kids using this language after playing the games, and the other people, the other 78%, either the other 78% is either people who don't notice their kids using the language, or they don't blame the games for the kids using that language, because because I've been in England, and I've been around kids, and kids are foul-mouthed little punks, and it's a peer thing. It's not a media thing. It is a peer thing. Because growing up, I didn't swear at all um, up until I started working, doing part-time jobs. That's when I started swearing, because everybody I worked with swore, and I started doing that. And I don't swear anymore, but yeah, it's definitely a peer thing. But
I also I find half of the parents have seen a negative change in their child's behavior since not supervising them or paying attention to what games they're playing. I have to
yeah,
wonder, is it the games or is it the fact that you aren't paying attention to your children?
yeah, exactly.
Which
Are
is
you
the
just
larger factor in the change in your child's behavior?
yeah, you're not supervising your kids, and they're acting out, and yeah, I think that is the more correlative
Yeah, I don't think it's
the thing
the
behind
18
this.
rated games as much as it's you don't care what your kids are doing.
Yeah, because again, I've been around kids, and the kids whose parents are not as interactive with them, they do a lot of dumb things. I saw once, and I'm not blaming this on England. It's just I was in England at the time, but I was sitting at the bus stop, and I noticed that the glass on the bus stop was recently shattered, and which is not an unheard of thing. Uh, bus stops get smashed up on a regular basis. But the thing is I looked down the street, and at about 50, 60 feet away, there were these two kids just kind of, doing this whole type thing, looking at a wall, but they also had golf clubs in their hands.
Just
And
heading to the links.
I'm just like, huh, recently broken glass, two little kids pretending to be innocent while holding golf clubs. I think there's a link here. But yeah, kids got in the
Yeah.
kids get into trouble if they're not being supervised. But yeah, so yeah, there's this is I wonder how many of these parents actually are putting two and two together after this survey. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's like the characters in Short Circuit 2 when they let Johnny Five just wander all over the city and he immediately joins a gang and steals car stereos. It's like, oh, maybe, yeah, Los Locos kick your face, there it's a longer chant,
Yeah.
but they get him back. It's like, maybe we should have paid a little bit more attention to him.
Yeah.
Because kids like Johnny Five, if violent video games or violent movies or racist YouTube videos or whatever are the only form of input they're getting, that's gonna probably accommodate a very skewed worldview unless you do the parenting thing.
Scotty J Man says, Zach, you're profiling. You don't know. They might have had a really good golf session. I'm like, okay, yeah.
No, I came back from the links and there was this busted bus stop.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay.
And I'm just whistling a happy tune.
Yeah. Okay, but moving on to this. Okay,
Sure.
so we've already determined that over half of the kids let their kids play 18 rated games without supervision, and 43% say that video games have had a negative impact on their child's behavior. 22% say that their kids are now using negative and offensive language after playing these games. But
my child called me a noob. What even is a noob?
Okay, but here's the next thing. More than 4/5, 86% of parents do not believe that games will impact their child's behavior or outlook on life.
Great. Then it is you.
I'm just this progression of stats just boggles my mind. We don't supervise our kids' media. Our kids are acting out and saying bad things, but the games don't have an impact on our children's life. Okay,
but then it gets even better. Keep going.
This is my absolute favorite statistic.
This is the cherry on the sundae. Get ready.
Yes, this is great. More than half, 62%, admit that they tried to take games away from their kids. Okay, this is a good thing. This is good. They recognize that these games are not something they should be letting their kids play.
And are taking some sort of proactive step in mitigating it.
They're being good. But this isn't the end of it. Okay, these same 62% said that, but they gave the games back soon after because their kids threw a tantrum. Their kids cried and whined and yelled, and the parents were like, okay, fine, you can have Grand Theft Auto 5 and God of War back. It's like,
dearchildcare.co.uk, most of the parents that use your site seem to really suck.
Yeah. And then they close this off with 48% fear that their child is becoming addicted to video games. And or is addicted to video games, not becoming addicted to video games.
So I'm imagining a parent here, and the parent's saying, I let my kid play whatever they want. 18 games, it's fine. It's all fine. Whatever. Although, since I've been not paying attention to what my kid's playing, I have noticed a negative change in their behavior, including offensive language. But I don't believe that it's the games. I did try to take the games away, even though I don't think it's the games. But I gave them right back because my kid is acting like a jerk and I can't deal with it anymore. It's like, oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is amazing.
Then again, I guess that's not too surprising because I imagine a lot of people who would use childcare.co.uk are people who are having trouble with their children and need help. It's
probably,
like, yeah. A lot of you do seem to.
Yeah. And As a parent myself, and speaking from recent experience, my kids were being punks, and I say this nicely, but they were being punks. They were fighting, arguing, and everything. And my wife and I, we got ticked off, and we have grounded my kids from all electronics. They basically have to earn electronics time, and we took away their phones, we took away their tablet, we put a an input lock. We turned on the input lock on our TV, so now the only thing they can actually do with the TV is watch actual, over the air television, and the only thing of interest to watch there is PBS Kids. So, but yeah, so they can't watch Netflix, they can't play video games, and my wife and I, we've stuck with this for the past 2 weeks, and my kids are actually doing better. They're behaving more. They still argue and fight and stuff, but they're playing more board games. They're reading more books, and they're generally playing together. They actually play together, with toys and things, and we're seeing a marked improvement in their behavior since taking away the video games. And it's not, and it's we don't let them play. Like I said, we don't let them play M-rated games, and we always vet any mobile games that they play. But the problem is that they wanted to play video games and only play video games. They didn't want to clean or help out around the house, and uh, and so yeah, that's where things were were driving us nuts. And summer break is terrible. I hate summer break. I want year-round school.
Go back to school.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, when I read this kind of stuff from this survey, I'm just like, do these people not know how to parent? Um,
No, that's
but
why they're on this site looking for a daycare or a
yeah,
nanny or a private tutor.
yeah,
And
and so
that's unfair, but
yeah. But
um
let's close this out with Richard Conway. He's the founder of childcare.co.uk. And this is what he had to say about the results of the survey. He says, it's difficult in this day and age to govern what your child is exposed to, because if your 10-year-old has friends who are playing Fortnite, which is rated 12, you want them to be included in the fun. However, it's always worth looking into the game to see if it's suitable rather than leaving them to their own devices. What's interesting is that the majority of the parents follow the film age ratings, but when it comes to video games, they maybe aren't as strict. It's important to remember how impressionable children are. If you see behavior and language in a video game or a movie, they may mimic it. Okay, so a somewhat reasonable response here, but that first line there about Fortnite, I'm just like, if you don't want your kid playing Fortnite, don't let them play Fortnite just because their kids are playing it. Um, for a couple of weeks, we were watching a couple of kids, and one of them was 8 years old, but no big deal. But he about the fifth visit that he came over, he brought like a Modern Warfare, I think, a
mhm.
Modern Warfare game, and wanted to play that. And we were just like, and he had a couple of other things, and he was like, but my dad lets me play it. And we're like, well, we don't play that here. um and I think it was more of him just trying to the first couple of times he was over, he got along and went along with it, but then he got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm gonna see where my boundaries are,
Mhm.
and everything, and and yeah, and for what it's, and kudos to my kids. They were the ones who said, oh, we don't play M-rated games. So it wasn't my wife and I telling him that no, we don't play those, or we don't let our kids play those. It was my kids saying, we don't play M-rated games,
Mm.
and so it was great that my kids were, my kids had a, recognize that yes, that is their limitation, and they can't, and they know that they're not allowed to step outside of that. So.
My concern would not be so much with my kids. I don't have kids, but if I did, my concern really wouldn't be with them playing Fortnite specifically, but who they're playing it with.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, yeah, you can go over to your friends and play Fortnite if you're, doing a LAN thing, or if you're just playing with people on your friends list, because I don't want you picking up, racial epithets and, horrible slurs on online.
Yeah, and that's one of those things too. It's like, I don't like my kids playing,
with strangers online.
with strangers online, and Fortnite's one of those games because it's a 100 player PVE game, and so I doubt very many people.
I don't think you can chat in the. Can you chat in the game, or is it?
I think you can, but I think it's only like with your teammates or something. I don't know.
Or maybe it's just in the lobby. I don't know.
Or maybe just in the lobby. I don't know. I don't have Fortnite. I don't even have a system that supports Fortnite, so I couldn't tell you. But yeah, but I do let my kids play online, but only with their in real life friends. I don't let them play with in open lobbies. So
yeah, Matthew points out that one of the parental controls is disabling voice chat with people that aren't on your friends list.
Yeah,
and that's a pretty useful parenting tool.
It is a very useful parenting tool, and and I really wish. I hope that the result of this survey that this childcare website does is a result of it is an education program for parents about rating systems and parental controls and everything, because that's valuable information to have.
How you vet movies? Do the same thing with video games and internet.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not that difficult, people.
Yeah. Don't listen to Leland Yee. It does not take 800 hours per game to vet. No.
You get a pretty good idea just watching a trailer, or
you don't even have to play the game. Look at the trailer.
Go to YouTube and watch a let's
play for 10, 20 minutes. Games are pretty uniform. I don't think I have ever seen a game where it just suddenly got gory or profane in the back half.
Yeah.
If it's going to do that stuff, it does it right up front.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nobody out there trying to trick you into playing games with content you don't want to play.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to another topic, and this one's a small one. So there was a shareholder meeting for Nintendo and a question and answer thing. And one of the things that pretty much every news outlet picked up on, and I can't really blame them because it's the thing that stuck out to me most, was an answer to a question asking about indie games on the Nintendo Switch. Now, Kimishima and Takahashi and Tanaka, the guys, the big heads at Nintendo, are answering this stuff. Do the typical, we love our indie community and our indie stuff doesn't compete with the main AAA stuff and all that good stuff. But one of the answers was very interesting. In the future, Nintendo, we are looking to release around 20 to 30 indie games on Nintendo Switch per week. And we definitely expect to see some great games among them.
Some great games.
That was an interesting add on it. 20 to 30 a week. We hope some of them will be great. Most of them are going to be average. Probably a few poor ones, but some
20
should be
games
great.
a week. That's 52 games or 52 weeks a year. That's over 1,000.
Yes.
I'm trying to. My math brain has just shut off, but that's a lot of games.
It's a little over 1,000. If it's 20 a week, is a little over 1,000.
Yeah.
So 22, 40, 1040 would be what it is.
Yeah.
But
that's 30. A lot of games a year, and And it's not Steam Direct or iTunes or Google Play bad, but that's a lot of junk.
1560, I think 30 would be.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that one surprised me. I was like, oh, yeah, pump the brakes on that one, Nintendo, because I mean, especially for
20 to 30
Nintendo,
a month, I could understand.
maybe, but the thing is the eShop is not the friendliest place to browse.
Yeah.
If your discovery on eShop is really bad, there isn't a really good way to filter. There aren't filtering is not as robust as it should be. There, finding things that interest you specifically is a bit of a chore on the eShop, and you want to clutter that sucker with 20 to 30 new indie games every week?
Yeah.
No. Be a
Yeah.
little bit more selective there, Nintendo.
Yeah, and an election or the Nintendo has the ability to be more selective in their title inclusion, because I can understand them wanting to bring a lot of games to the system, to fill in those the gaps between big releases.
Mhm.
Um, I can understand that, but that's a lot. Yeah, and there's no way that all of those games are going to be good, and they even admit it themselves. Like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we definitely expect to see some great games among them. It's
yeah,
like, how about go get the great games and put
yeah,
those on your system, not grab all the games and hope there's some great stuff in there. Because
yeah,
how are you ever going to find it? I mean, that's one of the issues that Steam has, and discovery on that is a lot easier than many other uh, platforms.
yeah,
But every day and week, you're just buried under a mountain of garbage. Kimishima also follows up saying, we are currently working towards reaching 1,500 software titles developed for Nintendo platforms using Unity. I think that will give you an idea of how much it has grown. I don't know if that's so much growth or if it's just you not being very discriminating.
yeah.
So, not a whole heck of a lot more to add on that one, but that just
No,
really said, whoa, 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 wait, 20 to 30 a week? Just in indie games?
yeah, and
Damn.
and yeah, and not to be rude or anything
Good
to
luck, indies,
developers
actually
out
getting
there.
noticed.
Yeah, it's just it's yeah, like it's going to be tough to get noticed, and I think Switch owners are probably going to be a little more choosy with their purchases over Steam users. Whereas Steam users typically you put your game on sale and you'll have you know you'll have quite a few people buying your game, but yeah, I think sales are a little more difficult to do on the Switch. Because you got to get approval from Nintendo, whereas Steam, it's just you just put it on sale and you're good to go. But yeah, it's gonna be tough, and hopefully, if you're going to put your game on the Switch, make it a good one. We don't
Yes.
need a bunch of garbage on the Switch.
Yes. Developers of the world, listen up. Stop making bad games. I fixed it. I fixed the gaming industry. Yay. Okay.
Yay! Yeah.
Last topic. Mortal Kombat. So there's apparently a new Mortal Kombat movie. At least they're trying to make a new Mortal Kombat movie. It's not in production or anything, but there's been scripts. And
And
over on a website that I've never heard of before, they published character descriptions of the characters that would be in the upcoming new Mortal Kombat movie.
yeah,
And I read these character descriptions and I thought, this is fake. And if it's
It's
not
gotta
fake,
be.
this is probably either not just because of which characters it was, but just the way it was written. I'm like, there's no way this came from anyone involved with the production. My
Yeah.
guess is that someone saw the script or an early draft of the script and then wrote their own character descriptions. So first we have, so Zachary, who would you peg for being the main protagonist of a Mortal Kombat movie?
I would probably go with the same. I don't know his name, but the same guy that was the main protagonist of the one good Mortal Kombat movie that
Well,
came out.
Mortal Kombat Annihilation, both
Yeah,
Liu Kang was the
Liu Kang. Yeah, that's
primary
his name.
protagonist, right?
Yeah.
You could also do Johnny Cage. You could probably do any of the main human
Yeah,
Earthrealm
Sonya
cast.
Blade,
Sonya Blade,
Jax.
Jax, sure.
Yeah.
Um, no, the lead male is going to be Cole Turner. Who the hell is Cole Turner? Cole Turner is in his 30s and a brand new character to the MK franchise. Cole is a struggling and widowed boxer who cares more about his young daughter than anything. He is incredibly determined and refuses to quit in the face of fantastical adversity.
See, okay, because I read this earlier this week too, and I read this and I read the boxer description. I'm just like, okay, are they just trying to hide Jax's identity behind a pseudonym? Because Jax is a boxer.
Is he?
Yeah, he
Well, I
was a
mean, he's got
boxer.
metal arms. He can certainly
He
hit
was a
you.
he was a boxer who he got cybernetic arms in order to cheat
Box
his way
better.
through to
Is
box
that
better.
right? I don't remember
And
that at all.
yeah,
Oh, all
and
right.
and I'm reading this. I'm like, okay, why are they hiding Jax behind a pseudonym? And I'm like, okay, maybe they're just pseudonyming everybody. And then the next character listing is for Sonya Blade. I'm like, okay, so he's not a pseudonym. And then like further down the list, they actually include Jax in there. And I'm like, they're gonna have two boxers in this movie. I don't get it. Oh, Jax was a soldier. I thought he was a boxer. Oh
Are
no,
you
no,
thinking
no.
of TJ Combo or someone?
I'm thinking of Killer Instinct, the boxer in there.
Scotty is a TJ
Yeah.
Combo from Killer Instinct. Yeah.
Yeah.
He has
Okay.
metal
So yeah, that's
arms.
who I'm. Yeah, he has metal arms. Yeah.
TJ Combo
Okay.
does.
Yeah.
Okay. Another
Okay. So
boxer I can think of
I'm
is
confused
Balrog.
then. Okay. So
I know
Jax.
Balrog loaded his gloves with metal or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm confused. I'm mixing up my my fighter characters.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay. Yeah.
So, other than Cole Turner, the audience insert character, I guess, who worries about
Yeah.
his young daughter after his wife died. But we've also got Kano, the large, rugged Australian ex special forces turned merc for hire. He is arrogant and impetuous, but a tremendous fighter. Okay. Now, was Kano always Australian, or is that because of the actor who played him in the Mortal Kombat movie?
Maybe that's it. I haven't played a Mortal Kombat game in years, so I couldn't tell you what his video game voice acting is like. But he might be Australian. I don't know.
I think they adopted that characteristic in the later games. I don't think I
Yeah.
don't know that he was always Australian, but I do think that the actor whose name escapes me, and he died, which is sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sonya Blade, and this is typical Hollywood casting call stuff. So we had a lead male, brand new character, struggling widowed boxer, young daughter, blah blah blah. Kano, large, rugged Australian special forces, blah blah blah. Sonya Blade, the beautiful, brainy blonde warrior. It's like, oh, really? It's 2018, folks. Read the room. Anyway, beautiful, brainy blonde writer who chases the prophecy of Mortal Kombat. She does. She recruits Cole. Why? He's a boxer. Why?
Yeah.
A struggling boxer recruits Cole and fights bravely and selflessly for a team she can only be a true part of once she earns a medallion in combat. What?
Okay.
So Jin / Lord Raiden. I thought Jin was like a totally other character, but whatever. Lord Raiden in this movie is going to be 14 years old. The immortal
Yeah.
thunder god and protector of the Earth realm, who leads and trains the Earth team in the underworld. It's going to be played by a 14-year-old. Sure.
That is just one of the weirdest things. Okay, so as weird as the brand new character is, changing Raiden to a 14-year-old kid is just super weird, especially for a franchise that's all about punching people's heads off.
I
Or
think someone saw Koenma in Yu Yu Hakusho and was like, "That's exactly what Mortal Kombat needs."
must
Like,
have
well,
been, yeah.
it's like, well, we can't have like a toddler with a pacifier. Age him up to 14 to be fine. Okay, so we've got another female character. Can you guess how her description plays out?
The busty bombshell.
Yes, 25 to 35, a drop-dead gorgeous woman that is part of the Outworld side. She wears a sheer gown over thigh-high boots and a revealing one piece with a veil that covers her nose and mouth. It's like, okay, so we've got special boxer guy with a daughter. We've got rugged Australian ex-special forces, and then we've got Melina, who's pretty and wears clothing that are revealing. That's her only character. She's pretty.
That's her characteristic, yeah.
Okay. Now we've got Jax, 30 to 40. Jax is a strapping mercenary military officer who loses both of his hands. Just his hands, huh? Decided to go for the entire arms, but he only lost his hands in an attack. Then joins Sonya and Cole to fight the Outworld. Liu Kang, 20 to 35, a fire-throwing ninja warrior who is a talented Earthrealm champion. Kung Lao, 25 to 35, the Mute Warrior. Since when was Kung Lao mute? Monk brother of Liu Kang, who yields an all-powerful boomerang hat. That's an odd way to describe it. Shang Tsung, no age specified. The great sorcerer of Outworld, whose presence is a storm cloud of dark energy. His ever-changing roulette of faces unfurls an evil smile. Draman, which is an odd choice. An Oni devil mask over his face. His body is comprised of twisted, sinewy skin. A heavy spiked club replaces one arm. Cable or Cabal. And it's like, I've always loved that character, but really? An evil assassin of Outworld. I thought Cabal was actually Earthrealm, but whatever. He is outfitted in a black armored vest and trench coat. His entire head is covered by a scarred black respirator. Signature weapons are 2 razor-sharp hooks. Nitara, female, 25 to 35, a black-haired vampire of Outworld. 2 massive leathery bat wings protrude from her bare shoulders.
And
fresh blood drips from her fangs. I mean, at least they didn't, talk about her chest or something.
Yeah, that's yeah.
An armor-clad Outworld general with white glowing eyes. He drags a massive warhammer. Overseer of the clock tower and the training grounds that house the Earthrealm warriors. He is laughably old. He's old. Emily, female, 12. Cole's scrappy, determined, and wise beyond her years daughter. Oh, good. Sophia, female, 60s. Cole's understanding, discerning mother-in-law who houses Emily and is her primary guardian. So mom died and his mother-in-law took the kid? Oh, that sucks. Jess, female, 30 to 35, Cole's judgmental sister-in-law, who believes Cole to be a selfish, bad father. She lives with Sophia and Emily. Okay.
Yeah.
So, now, according to Todd Garner's producer on the project, he said on Twitter, nothing's happening with the movie at this time. Greg Russo, who's a writer, says, deep breath, everyone. Number 1, this is not the full list of characters. Number 2, this is based off an older version of the script. And lastly, I'm guessing that kanji means Scorpion and Sub-Zero forever. He also says, oh, and who wrote those character descriptions? Tweet me if you need pointers. I know, right? Yeah. So I think my first instinct was correct in that someone saw an early draft and just wrote their own character descriptions and wrote them really stupidly. But on the other hand, it's good for a laugh. On the other hand, and I've only got 2, I was kind of surprised to see, well, not so much surprised to see this particular news bit make the rounds. I was surprised to see it treated so damn seriously by so many outlets, especially coming from a website called That Hashtag Show, which
Yeah.
maybe my finger's just not on the pulse, but I have never heard of this site in my
It
life.
is it's a legit site. Like it
Is it?
has,
Okay.
yeah. This isn't some dark corner of the internet. This that hashtag show. They actually do report news and stuff. Yeah, not necessarily the greatest stuff in the world, but there's nothing particularly terrible about the site. So yeah, I just got to wonder. It's like where did all this come from? Because yeah, some of these character descriptions are not they're not casting call type character
Right.
descriptions. Because casting calls typically focus more on physical attributes. This is the age we want. We want
We need
this.
someone who's at least 6'4".
Yeah, this height, this build, this this race, whatever. And then they include a little bit of a description of the character so that people who want to audition have an idea of
Something to go off of. Super
something to go on.
angry person who, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so these read more like the type of descriptions you might see in the manual, or what you used to see in manuals inside the game box, a little more anyways.
So basically, what this is sounding like is if Ant-Man, Paul Rudd's character, Scott Lang, the Paul Rudd character in the movies, got somehow involved in the Mortal Kombat tournament. Because in the new Marvel movies, Scott Lang is divorced from his wife.
Yeah.
He does not have custody of his daughter.
Yeah.
His wife is remarried, or at least engaged to another guy.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to do right by his daughter. And then suddenly the invasion from Outworld, and now he has to. I mean, it's what it sounds like to me. But Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp are good. So, oh, I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, by the way, and it was pretty good. I liked it.
Yeah, I've heard good things.
It is fun.
Yeah.
It's
So
it tells a bit more than it shows, which is bad. But
yeah.
I mean, especially I think the worst part is
Well, when you got a bunch of got a movie premise that is circles around pseudoscience and straight out fiction, science fiction. You got to do a little more telling.
There's a pretty good gag where Paul Rudd is like, "Do you guys just put quantum in front of every word? Is that all you're doing?" Because they're like, "Oh, the quantum frequency and the quantum tunnel needs to do the quantum mechanics." It's like, you guys just keep saying quantum.
Well,
It's like, yeah. But
yeah.
my biggest thing is, for example, in the middle of the movie, right before we reach the second half, we get the villain's backstory, and they present, and there's a flashback so you can actually see it. But how it's done in the movie is she shows up, literally ties our characters to chairs, and monologues at them for 4 minutes. Says, "All right, sit down, shut up. I'm going to explain my backstory now." And I'm sitting there thinking, there had to have been a more elegant way to incorporate this into the film rather than tie the characters to a chair and tell them the backstory.
Yeah.
But, oh well. Anyway, Mortal Kombat. I like Mortal Kombat. I like the first movie. Annihilation is phenomenally bad. And I'm excited for a new one. Just
and
the Mortal Kombat movie. I mean, the stories in the last two Mortal Kombat games, I'm like, you know what? If you made a movie, if that was the movie, fine. I'd be happy with that.
Those Mortal Kombat web shorts were actually really good too. I enjoyed those.
For what they were, sure.
Yeah, for what they were. I enjoyed them more than the Street Fighter ones that were produced.
I've seen a couple different web Street Fighter shows, so I'm not sure
Well, there
which
was
one.
one that told the backstory of Ryu and Ken and their training and stuff, which it was yeah, it had good production quality. I just didn't enjoy it as much as the Mortal Kombat ones. So
The Mortal Kombat ones were pretty good.
yeah,
The they they're like, let's take Mortal Kombat and ground it in reality and make it a little bit more serious and believable. I'm like, no, it's Mortal Kombat. Don't do that. I still rather enjoyed it. It was an
yeah,
interesting take on it, and I enjoyed it. But I'm like,
definitely,
no,
yeah,
Mortal Kombat is stupid. Lean into it. Which no, not
yeah.
that far annihilation. There's leaning into stupidity, and then there's just complete incompetence. But
Yeah. Well, and the best thing about the first Mortal Kombat was that it was not self-serious, to the point where Johnny Cage goes up against Goro, and the first thing he does is he does splits
the
and punches
split
Goro
kick
in
and
the
ball
balls.
punch, yeah.
And that's great. I love that. Yeah.
And he shakes his hands like, "Ow, that hurt." It's like punching two rocks. Ow. So
Yeah.
okay,
It was a
that is
fun movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's our show. So sorry we missed last week, but
Yeah.
Zachary had to clean out his shed full of rats.
Yeah.
And I was in a foul mood and didn't think I'd be a very good host. So, but we're glad to be back. So let us plug our stuff and get out of here, and we'll see you again next week.
All right.
Chaos. Yeah, Cabal is Earthrealm. I thought he was, but I mean, there's 70, 80 Mortal Kombat characters or something like that.
Yeah,
Man,
and
it's
man,
hard to
are
keep them straight
that
after a while.
cast list just scraped the bottom of the barrel for some of those characters, and it's like it's like the last few characters on that list. I'm just like, who are these people?
It's
I've
like, did you
never seen.
throw darts?
Yeah,
Did you take the character select screen from whichever the big one that had everyone in it, just throw darts at it?
yeah,
Whatever. Anyway, I'm Andrew Eisen, and Eisen is how you spell the last name. It's German. Plug it into YouTube, and you'll find my channel. Unfortunately, I don't do as much as I would like, but I do have a new scripted video that I'm going to try to shoot tonight and hopefully edit and hopefully have it done sometime tomorrow.
yeah,
MK Armageddon, that's right, Cass. Thank you.
yeah.
Because I was thinking MK Trilogy. I'm like, well, no, that was just the first 3 games. I am so old. Anyway, my new video is called Able-Bodied Andrew Checks His Privilege. So that should be fun. It's about a parking citation. And it's about a parking citation that actually happened a year ago, but it happened like at the exact same time that I started my Patreon because my rent went up by $100 a month. And I felt really weird about starting a Patreon and saying, if you'd like to help me offset the increase in rent, that would be great. And then immediately following that up with, oh, I owe $300 for parking in the wrong place. Woe is me. That felt wrong to me. So I've actually been sitting on this story for a year. Um, it just felt wrong to do it at that time. So,
Yeah.
but hopefully I'll get that done tonight, and that'll be ready tomorrow sometime. So, also follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen. Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, where I talk about gaming, politics, and other things. And you can follow my game development work at DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. And I'm actually now that I figured out my controller problem, I should be making some decent progress on my game. And it's a Deadly Labyrinth. I don't know if I wrote about that on my website or not, but it's a game I made last year. I started making it last year, and it's basically just my take on Gauntlet, the old arcade 4-player arcade game. My take on it, and hopefully it comes along pretty well. I might change the name later on, but just Deadly Labyrinth is just kind of lame. I'm terrible at naming my games. But yeah, and if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com. And there's lots of cool games actually being made by other people in Oklahoma, so check that out.
All right, you've been watching the 106th episode of Molehill Mountain. We hope you'll tune in next week for the 107th. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.